It costs that much cause it takes me fucking hours. Fucking hours. It costs that much cause I don't have superpowers. Superpowers. So you need to pay for my skills cause exposure doesn't pay the bills. It costs that much cause it takes me fucking hours. You need to pay for my skills cause exposure doesn't pay the bills. It costs that much cause it takes me fucking hours.
Shut up, bitch!
We'll do it live.
Okay.
We'll do it live. Fuck it. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live.
James was can say is, ooh, I'll be second day, ooh, I'll be second day, ooh, I'll be second day, ooh, I'll be second day. When a Bowen turned into a vampire, all James was can say was, ooh, I'll be second day, ooh, I'll be second day, ooh, I'll be second day, ooh, I'll be second day. When he became Peter's best friend, they sat around the house and said, second day, ooh, I'll be second day, ooh, I'll be second day, ooh, I'll be second day. And you know that James Woods practices lines real well, but everything that he reads becomes real hard to spell. Everyone tries to help him, but the words just won't come out. There's only one thing he can think of, and it's what comes out his mouth. Ooh, I'll be second day, ooh, I'll be second day. Ooh, I'll be second day. Ooh, I'll be second day. When he comes out of his house, the women scream and shout. Ooh, I'll be second day. 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 When they know that he's next to the best of them all, when he says, ooh, I'll be second day. 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 Reese's Pieces on the floor and watch him come a saying, ooh, I'll be second day. 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 And you know that James Woods practices lines real well, but everything that he reads becomes real hard to spell. Everyone tries to help him, but the words just won't come out. There's only one thing he can think of, and it's what comes out his mouth. Oh! Ooh, I'll be second day. 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 When he comes out of his house, the women scream and shout. Ooh, I'll be second day. 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 Second day.
Fucking thing sucks.
Hey, everybody. I'm making promises I may or may not can keep. That's how I roll. Inside joke. That's not an outside joke. That's an inside joke. Good evening and welcome to another rendition of Extra Bull. I'm your host, Uncle Warren, as you can see there on the magic picture box. Tonight joining me here in just a moment, we will have Green Party candidate for Governor of Texas, Delilah Barrios. She's also a mom and she works in the medical field. So she may tell me to go fly a kite because she may have to get out of here soon. So hopefully we can keep her for as long as we can. But we'll see. You know, duty comes first. As we say in the medical biz, and if you have trouble, with constipation. I said duty. Anyway, shout out the chat here. We got one of our producers here, Les Bones, is here. Good to see you, brother. Miss Jimmy, my Friday night secret show co-host, is in the chat as well. I see you. What? I see you. And we got Miguel here as well, and Austin Jones earlier with a hell yeah. So yeah, good times. Also, if you're into that sort of thing, if you can do the old like, share, and subscribe, get Joe going up the stairs there with fairly a lot of difficulty there. He's not too good with stairs. They should have got him an escalator for that thing. He probably would have tripped on that too. But you didn't come here to see my ugly mug. You came here to see this nice lady. Hello there. How are you, Delilah?
Hi.
I know,
I'm
right?
good. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm okay. We were talking about heat earlier, how now it's officially summertime. I don't know how it is in Texas. Does it, when it gets July 1st, does it like automatically turn into the gates of Hades, or is it just, if you get it a little early down there? What's the story, Morning Glory?
Yeah, so our winter is like 2 to 3 storms, which brings cold weather, and that's about it. The rest is like hot. We
Yeah.
get some rain, you know what I'm saying? So like first day of summer, it was like already brutal and really hot outside. Yeah, I was talking about how people, like they can't handle the elements because it's so hot out here. They need air conditioning, that otherwise they'll be prone to, dehydrating and things like that. So it does get pretty brutal. But I love it though. I love being outside in the sun. It's just the best thing. I feel like you got to like work up your tolerance to be able to survive living down here,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We were talking, I told her I was a Mississippi boy, and believe it or not, the first, like, I think the first, well, all through high school, actually, we didn't have air conditioning down in Mississippi. We had fans. Dad was a little too cheap to get us air conditioning. And I know Texas has like a few different ecosystems, right? I mean, it's because it's such a huge place, right? So you have more humidity on the east side of the state. But then if you get to the west side of the state, that's like when you get more desert, more arid, right? I mean, isn't that kind of how it is?
Yeah, like it snows more often in Lubbock and areas like that. We've got the Panhandle, we've got the coast, we've got Central. It's a diverse area. Some more heavily wooded than others. We've got a lot of like natural bodies of water that obviously as a Green Party candidate, I'm interested in protecting as much as possible. So it's diverse. You just gotta, the saying is just drive 40 miles in another direction if you don't like the weather, and you'll see something a little bit different. But with the climate change, it's definitely the heat index. When it's bad, it'll last for a lot longer than it used to. So it's a concern for sure.
Yeah, I spent a month in Dallas a few years back. I used to work for Borders Books, and it's no longer with us. R.I.P. Borders Books. It was a good run. And we opened a store in the Dallas Fort Worth area. So and that all entails like you got to get all the books in there. You got to get make sure everything's set up. So it took at least a month to do that. So while I was there, I think I saw every kind of weather you can imagine. I saw snow. There was tornado. There was rain. It was sunny. It was hot. It was cold. I mean, it was like, I'm amazed. I was living in California at the time. I'm amazed by the time I got back to California that I didn't have like pneumonia or anything like that, because it was just like, and that was just in Dallas. That was just like, that's like, where's Dallas? Is that more like kind of like close to the center of the state? Like maybe kind of the center, southeast kind of area?
Yeah, I feel like everybody describes where they live a little bit differently, if they live there versus if you don't. Like, I don't live in Dallas, so I live in like close to Austin right now. But yeah, like I drove up to Houston last month, and it was so hot and humid. I was just like, we were just melting in the sun. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's actually closer to Oklahoma than, Dallas is.
You could bust up Texas into 4 states and they'd still be pretty decent sized states. When me and a buddy moved out to LA, I think it took us like 2 days to drive across Texas. And we spent the night in Houston spent time with a friend there. And then, I think it took us a greater part of the day to get, because we went through San Antonio, and then we went up the west side there as you're going up into New Mexico. But it's a giant state. And fun fact, the only state in that whole trip between Mississippi and LA, Texas was the only place we got a ticket. But it wasn't me. It was my buddy driving. He's the sinner.
That's not shocking at all. Like, there's so many cops sucking up funds all over the place. It's crazy.
Everything's bigger in Texas, including the tickets. Delightful.
Yeah, I try so hard to not get speeding tickets. Right. And I have a lead foot, so I got to be careful. You know what I'm saying? I just hate talking to cops, right? Like, do you know how fast you're going? Yeah, I was going real fast.
I'm assuming over the speed limit since we're having this fine chat today, Your Honor.
Yeah.
Right. I hate that too. When I was a lot younger, I was a bit of a lead foot myself, and I got a couple of tickets, and always got that same thing. It's in Mississippi though, so it'd be like, "Hey, where's the fire? Huh? Where you? You off to the races there? Ain't you there? You going to Talladega? Huh? No, I'm late for work, and now I'm even later because we're having this little convo."
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing though. If you win the race for governor, you're going to have to talk to cops, pretty much, right? Isn't that how that works?
That is true. Yeah.
Right.
I'm aware.
Okay. All right. I mean, probably not in the same instance as you would if you had the lead foot. But it would probably be a different conversation. You'd probably be telling them, how fast you were speeding, jackass.
Where's the fire?
That's why I don't run for office.
Yeah, there are so many. My God, just running for office and being like certifying all of the ballot access requirements and things like that. I mean, Greg Abbott obviously is our governor at the moment. And so he calls so many special elections for things that I don't particularly see a benefit from. And it's a lot. So I can only imagine having to delegate. But I just see so much like waste in the way things are run. He spent $37 million. I think just this year, or at least this reporting period, on his campaign. And I'm just like, what other things could have been done better with that amount of money. You know what I'm saying? And like we have the National Guard, there are guys who are committing suicide, unfortunately, because of the stress involved with their jobs and being used for border patrol, basically. And I mean, there's just it's crazy to hear people think that it's not corrupt. Like it's very clearly corrupt down here. And if you don't know that, I mean, you might be a little privileged. You might to not have to understand that that's how it works. But I mean, it you know, there's so many things like we're always in the news and it's never for anything good. I'm really tired of that cuz I know a lot of really good people, you know. I'm from Texas. A lot of my the people that I admire and respect are from here. So it's just, you know, it's kind of one of those things like culturally the rest of the planet probably views us as like, you know, cowboys shooting guns and having that thick country accent, which I have a country accent because I'm a Texan. But you know what I'm saying? Like, we don't all wear cowboy hats all the time.
I got people down there. I got cousins that live down there, and they don't wear cowboy hats or anything either. One cousin wears buttless chaps, but I don't think that's because he's in Texas. I think he's got something else going on. All right, so before we
That's
get
for
to the
funsies, not for practicality, right?
yeah, I was about to say the good segue into the serious stuff here for just a moment. So let's talk about the run for governor down there. So you know, I consider myself an independent, right? So
Yeah.
I'm pretty much had my fill of the duopoly, and I'm a little gun shy of any political party in general. All right. So I mean, if so I'm a constituent in Texas and I'm an independent and I'm like, I don't know, these political parties, you know, I don't know about them. How give me your elevator pitch for how you're going to sell me on you and the Green Party in Texas, and you know, and just what would you tell one of your constituents?
Well, I tend to talk more about policies. I've noticed it from other parties too. They're not really fond of declaring what ticket they're on. And I'm not ashamed or hiding the fact that I'm a green. I think it comes pretty naturally in the conversation, but I don't start with that. I don't lead with that. I usually lead with that I'm a healthcare worker and I've seen people suffer from lack of healthcare. And it seems like a really cruel and inhumane way to treat people that you're supposed to care about. So Medicare for all is the most important policy change that this country needs, and especially in our state, being the one of the most uninsured and underinsured populace in the country, we could save a lot of money and actually be a very positive model for statewide single payer. So that's the first policy platform I talk about. Depending on who I'm talking to, you know, if it's younger college kids, obviously I lead up quickly with the legal recreational marijuana because that's a no-brainer and that makes a lot of people happy. And you know, if I'm like at a farmer's market, I would talk about how we need to incentivize farmers and make sure that they're able to maintain their private property so that way they can still keep producing for the state and not be in poverty, which brings up the next pitch, UBI, which would be a great way, you know, because I have $20 minimum wage on my platform and I'm getting some pushback, like that's not nearly enough. And so, you know, I think UBI is a perfect solution to balancing out the budgets, making sure that we have enough wages for everybody, making sure everybody's covered. I define as a socialist, and I know even people within the Green Party don't also, they don't really, you know, they're kind of like shy of the label, you know what I'm saying? So it really just depends on who I'm talking to. Obviously, working class people, I remind them about the wage that we want to increase and that, you know, I'm a big supporter of unions and cooperatives too. So all of those things I try to touch base on. you know, I am unfortunately met with the question like, why would I vote for you versus somebody else? And it's like, maybe you should look into what we're, you know, what our platform is. Like, anybody can write a policy page on the internet and lie pretty faithful, like lie pretty consistently to get you to go along with them until they get elected, and then don't do anything that they promised they'd do. So, you know, at least have an open mind. You know, we haven't had a woman of color as governor in the state, and I think it's about damn time.
Yeah, I mean, I'm all for it. I read your, I put your website in the chat there, delilahfortexas.com, and I got to read over, you know, the issues that you're for, and and a lot of those do appeal to somebody like me who doesn't feel like these other parties are. Providing that, or at least not saying it to the extent that you are. So that's some good stuff too there. So I had a question for one of my guys in one of my group chats. So so I noticed on your website, one of the things is you're a supporter of Second Amendment rights, but what do you, if you're elected governor, what are you going to do as far as like any sort of gun policy? Are you going to try to enact any kind of gun policy? Or if there is there a specific kind that you would enact, or what would you do?
Yeah. So with all of the mass shootings, you know, I have children too, and I am a healthcare worker. So obviously, something very near and dear to my heart is preserving life as much as possible. We do not need any more loss of life. I think a big problem is NRA being involved in lobbying. I'd like to cut their influence down because that's part of the problem. I also think that the military and prison industrial complex are a big factor in glamorizing gun ownership and violence. So that's another issue that I think should be on everybody's mind in concern to saving lives. Like, we have to think about where we're spending our money as a nation, and we're spending a lot of it on those two complexes, which are doing a lot to harm us and our communities. So that's another issue. I think the manufacturers need to be held liable for the things that they do. I feel like capitalism is the biggest threat to our existence. And I know that when that profit incentive is there, morals go out the window. And I think that they need to be held responsible for how much they're selling to, you know what I'm saying? I don't think it's wise for any individual to be able to basically have an armory in a very short period of time. I mean, clearly that has a pattern of abuse, and we need to do something about that. So, but on the other hand, being, you know, born and raised in the state, I know how people feel about their Second Amendment rights. And honestly, as a woman, losing my rights already, last year we lost our right to abortion in the state. I don't really feel comfortable losing any more rights. I feel like I'd rather have means to defend myself. And that's just me as a person, like as an individual. But, you know, if I was elected, I have an obligation to represent the people who elected me into office. And I have an obligation to make sure that their communities are safe. So that's where I would focus a lot of my energy.
Right on, right on. Yeah, I'm of the opinion, like, I mean, I understand why people, I would go back and forth on Second Amendment stuff. I got into an argument with a good friend of mine on Facebook, of all places. Gee, you never get in arguments on Facebook. Anyway, so but he was talking, and let's say he's a gun enthusiast. I know the guy. I know he doesn't have anything wrong with him mentally. You know, I know for sure he's not going to go out and, like, you know, do something dastardly like these mass shooters have done. But at the same time, when I hear somebody talking about guns and just like they collect guns and they're just like so infatuated with these guns, right? And that's what
It's an addiction.
Yeah, I mean, like, somebody, okay, you got like a piece, locked up somewhere in the house you got easy access to, but the kids don't have access to it. You're using it for home protection. I understand that. Or if you're a hunter, you go out. I mean, I have several cousins who are deer hunters, so I've been around guns my whole life. I understand that.
Yeah.
Or if you want to go down to the gravel pit, do some target practicing, right? I totally understand that. I'm all for like making sure that you know how to use a weapon before you buy one. I think
Yes.
like training, because when I was in junior high, we had gun safety course through the park services in our county, right? They came to us in junior high. They brought a gun to school in junior high. I can't do that anymore. And they showed us like how to clean it, how to carry it, how obviously I don't point at nobody, that kind of thing, and stuff like that. So
No,
I'm
I
all
think
for that kind of stuff. Go ahead, please.
well, and you brought up mental health, like you're like, there's nothing wrong. But I think that when you really think, like, I think this violence stems from other types of violence that communities are facing. And one of those is lack of access to healthcare. Our
Mhm.
governor cut funding to that department specifically. There's a lot of things that we are not doing for people, very basic things that their needs are not being met. And I understand, you know, when there's that sort of void, it kind of creates a vacuum for people to be radicalized in a way that dehumanizes them. And I, I really think, if we expanded our scope of wellness to include, not just healthcare, but mental health services, and then quality of life. What is your living situation? What kind of transportation do you have? How hard is it for you to go into the doctor? All of those things we could improve upon, I imagine, would immediately reduce any kind of, gun violence like that.
Yeah.
People are desperate
Yeah.
right now.
These are I don't know who said it initially, but these are interesting times for sure. And kind of random times too. You know, it kind of reminds me a little bit of the 90s, to be honest with you, because I remember you had people that were what was it, the DC, you had the DC sniper, you had that guy in Washington DC who was killing people. It was just random stuff. And you think about the parallels in the court, it was like all these restrictive policies were being put into place, much like they are today. And there was talk. You even had Nancy Pelosi back in the early 90s talking about Medicare for all. Boy, that tells you how long
Yeah.
ago that was. And you're just starting to see the
Ugh.
same things here. In this same time period, these same people are just like, no, wait, we have to wait, and they don't have a sense of urgency because they're not in these desperate positions like a lot of poor and working people are. And I don't think they put
Right.
that two and two together, So,
I agree
um,
with you there. I think that's honestly why I find myself in green parties, because everywhere else does not have that sense of urgency, especially where climate change is concerned. And I'm so tired of being told, and I know everybody else is too. They're tired of being told, "Oh, midterms, we got to vote. You got to vote. You got to vote." Like that's the only tool in our toolbox. It's
right.
it's disrespectful to talk to people, the labor force, who really has the power to do anything, like they can't do anything more besides go cast a vote for a complicit party that's obviously corporate funded. I just can't. And so when you were like, oh, these are interesting times, like to me it seems like it's just history repeating over and over, because we're not doing anything different. There was a UT shooting in 66, similar thing. I think the shooter killed a family member and then went up to the UT Tower and started shooting people. And this was back in the 60s. And
Yeah.
so, for context, you know what I mean? Like, this is Texas. This is an ongoing phenomenon. It's not a new phenomenon. It's not unheard of or unprecedented. It's a continual expectation of your existence to be exposed to mass shootings and gun violence, not just in the state, it's all over the place. And the more extreme people get with their nationalism and their rugged individualistic priorities, the less likely we are to actually be able to come to terms with these things and find solutions for them.
Yeah. I and you mentioned I read this on your website today too, and I thought this was pretty interesting about how we need to strike. Workers need to strike. The power to the
Yeah.
people, right? Um, but let me ask you this: so if you're elected governor, right? Are you going to do a Shama Sawant? You're going to be like, are you going to be out with protesters as governor? I mean, as showing like the kind of a put up or shut up kind of thing. Like, I mean, actions do
Yeah.
speak louder than words. But I mean, what is your plan there?
I agree. I am a big supporter of direct action. I think that it is very reasonable for the people to make themselves heard, through their words and their actions, especially when their needs aren't being met, especially when they're suffering and having not just low quality of life, but we're talking about like generational trauma of being exposed to colonialism and capitalism. I think that really, that's just something that's just part of it. You know what I'm saying? That's a big part of it. I would be happy to strike. I would be happy to speak. And I honestly, I think about opening up medical tents and sleeping arrangements for people, because we have a really big homeless population, disproportionately, of course, Black and brown people, in Austin. And I would love to just open up the governor's mansion lawn to these folks, so they can have some security, and we can provide for them, and just to highlight that these people live here. They're Austinites too. They get to benefit from services that we all need too. That's just something that I would like to see. But obviously, any cause that I can support, I want to be there to support it.
Right on. I mean, I'm a little I don't know if you can tell, but I'm a little bit of an older person. And even though I fool a lot of people, uh but I've always learned growing up that you lead by example, right? And that's I brought up Shama Sawant out in Washington
Mhm.
State, and I think she might be kind of the blueprint for how people uh, for like people who are running for office, because I always think like real leadership is going to come out of movements. They're not going to be just politicians that just are like legacy
Groomed.
politicians. Yeah, just like another Bush, another Clinton, another Obama, another whoever. It's going to be people that are
Yeah.
actually leading people right now, uh, doing the work on the ground in the trenches, and they're going to rise up. And I would see, like, from what I've heard about you, that you would probably be one of these people too to do that. So I wish you a lot of luck in your race there, because you're going up against a lot of money,
Yeah.
and not just the Republicans either. With the old Beto dancing on tables for money. They're I mean, how you gonna okay, that's the last question. So how are you fighting the money? Because they're like running like probably ads like crazy against each other, and not even giving a thought to anybody else in the race. So how are you gonna sneak in there? What's your secret plan? And you could tell us, because nobody's watching this show. So you want to keep
So,
your secret.
I will say that something that I've used, because how I am, who you're meeting today, it's pretty much who I've always been. And so I think that level of consistency is really nice. I've got a lot of people who are supporting me, um, that I'm grateful for their support, and they're like, I'm going to vote for you. I'm going to tell my family to vote for you. And that really, honestly, one of the best things for me personally in my growth and my story is people not realizing what I'm capable of, or underestimating me, and then learning the hard way that I'm a force to be reckoned with. So I think
Okay.
that on November 8th, we'll see how people really feel about things. And I think that's actually one of a tool it's a tool for me, is that I'm overlooked. They're not really paying that close attention. I know that I know I'm making them uncomfortable. I can tell I'm making them uncomfortable, and I love that. I want to keep doing that as long as possible. But yeah, I think it's just that community support. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just a regular, like, hardworking person. I've got kids. I'm just like you. My last name translates to neighborhood. I mean, I'm from the valley. Like, I'm just like y'all. Like, we're all struggling. We're all in the same struggle. And I think voters are at this level where they're just so disgusted with the way politics are going, and these neoliberals, neoconservatives coming to them, pushing them. You know, there are these ladies I met in Houston, and they call the folks who try to campaign through the churches the pulpit pushers,
Mm-hmm.
because they just show up when they need donations. You know, maybe they'll walk around the block with you, and they don't hear from you, and they don't call you, and they don't accept calls. They disappear and they vanish, and people are fed up with that, and I'm rightfully so. So I think that's just one of the things that's going to make me unique. I'm the youngest person on the ballot. I'm a millennial. You know, and again, like, my whole generation has been overlooked, right, for the struggles we've had to survive, and the, you know, consolidation of wealth, largely against, you know, our favor. You know, I think we have a good chance.
Like, I'm Gen X, so if anybody knows anything about being overlooked, I got it double, because Gen X and lived in Mississippi, which a meteorologist referred to during, like, I'm pretty sure you're familiar with, like, hurricanes and stuff. You're from aren't you from, like, the Brownsville area around there?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was born in
Yes.
Brownsville.
Okay, so, you know, like, y'all get storms just like we did too. I lived on the Mississippi Gulf Coast too, about 30 miles north of it. And so Gen X, and I swear to God, somebody on the weather, I think it was the Weather Channel, didn't say Mississippi, they said the landmass between Louisiana, Alabama. Called it the landmass. I was like, are you shitting me? What the? Okay. And then I said, okay, that's fine. And I know it was some Yankee, you know, I just said, that's what I said. It was just some Yankee. They don't know nothing. Anyway, they probably can't even spell
You're definitely
it.
from the South if you use that terminology.
We blame Yankees for everything. Well, shoot, are you kidding? We're not.
We were so mean to Californians for a solid decade, I think. We were just like, you transplants, what are you doing? Raising the rent like that? We're just like,
I know, right? Well,
you know, I
like,
had some friends that moved over from New York, and they're like, why are y'all so mean to us for moving here? And we're like, because we're poor. We didn't want to have to compete with your income levels, okay? Like, like, you know.
they don't understand.
Yeah, and
they're,
then most
they're
people compare
gentrifiers.
Texas to hell. Like, you'll hear that a lot.
I tell you,
That's
though,
us.
Texas got some damn good steaks, though. Woo! Love me some Texas steak. Holy shnikes.
Dude, I'm so proud of the farmers down here for holding onto their land. Like,
yeah,
piss off
I
Bill
know it's.
Gates. They don't
about to
care.
say.
Like,
Yeah, it's getting bought up left and right too. Didn't he bought like 2,100 acres in South Dakota or something like that just recently? I mean,
it's so creepy.
That's some dystopian stuff right there. That is like, okay, is Soylent Green actually going to happen? Is that a thing? You know, I don't know. It's just like I think about these old 70s sci-fi movies that would talk about the future. And by God, it seems like a lot of that stuff's starting to come true, and it's getting me a little bit worried. So,
yeah, what is it? Dystopian futures now move to current events. This is our timeline.
Yeah, what do they say? It's not, what does Jimmy Dore said? It's not conspiracy theory anymore. It's a spoiler alert. So yeah, that sounds about right. He and I are about the same age, so we got the same kind of thinking in that respect. But
okay.
Yeah, you know, old people, we kind of think weird.
But Gen
stuff.
X isn't like old exactly, you know what I'm saying?
Getting there.
I honestly think, I don't know how old you are, but I honestly feel very firmly that if we had socialism, you would probably feel a bit younger, you know? Like
Oh
everybody
yeah.
could benefit from, having their needs met, having some sort of support system and structure in place. Like our, I did podcasts before, and while I started to run, and I remember talking about Biden's, the bill, he was gonna work on infrastructure, and it's like where, and we were all dubious that he had any that had any fact or carried any truth to it. And I just remember like we've got pipes that are so old. These kids are just
Mhm.
drinking lead. People are just babies are being born with microplastics. Like we've got serious cases of like cancer being caused directly from drinking water and pollution and things like that. And they just want to keep pushing, the goalpost. Oh, it's 2050. Oh, that's plenty of time to fix it. No, it isn't. Everybody who knows anything knows that isn't enough, and then, like these half measures are so weak. And to just hear people saying like that's pretty good. No, it isn't. It's like, you're taking crumbs. You're taking crumbs and there's a whole cake right there and they're not sharing. And I just, I think it's that ability for me to just relate to people is going to help us in the long run.
Well, you got I've noticed several people have done the Cal exit, leaving California and going to Texas. But they're mostly like conservative types that are leaving, but that's a form of gentrification right there. Because I live in Brooklyn, New York, and I've lived here for over 13 years, and I've seen ethnic neighborhoods that have just dried up. That you'd have great little corner stores and great little mom and pop businesses. And that was one of the reasons why I'd moved out to LA and why I'd moved out to New York, is because I wasn't getting that kind of cultural immersion like I did in the South. I wasn't getting that because it was either like in the South is basically either black people or white people, or maybe some Vietnamese folks on the coast, and that's it, right? And I came to New York. I was like, man, I the first neighborhood I lived in, I was with a roommate who was also from Mississippi. I mean, just great folks in the neighborhood. And it was one of those things like if you're a little short or something, they're like, you come back tomorrow, bring money tomorrow. Don't worry about it. Because you knew each
Yeah.
other, right? And that's a dying
Mm,
thing. It's a dying thing now. You can't even get a job anymore by going to a business and giving them your resume or even filling out an application. Everything's online, everything is faceless, and it's scary. And like you said, those rents, like leases, like mortgages and leases and rents, you get those richies come
yeah.
in, that's it. And what are the poor people going to do, right?
Yeah, and gentrification is a big problem, especially in East Austin. Like it's so gross to see like the neighborhoods getting blown up and then replaced with some like whitewashed version of like, you know what I mean? Like where's the fire? Where's the spice? Where's the fun, the joy? And it just gets co-opted and turned into something like I'm so tired of all the Starbucks. Is that really a benefit to have like 5 Starbucks in every town? I don't think so. You know what I'm saying? Like there's so many other better things, and like I don't. I'm happy that the Starbucks workers are unionizing. I think that's great, but I also feel like we should not have more of those stores, right? Like, aren't there more than enough? It's like gas stations. Like, it's excessive, and it devalues your neighborhood. Actually, those
Right.
old mom and pop shops really bring something that a corporation can't bring to your neighborhood, to your community. They're
Right.
essential, and
You
yeah,
don't
the
have
co the
corporations in
pandemic
the neighborhood
killed so
either.
many small businesses.
Yeah. Yeah, they killed a lot here too. And that's the thing, it's like corporations aren't part of the neighborhood. The mom and pops are. Those people
Yes.
live in the neighborhood. Like down the street here, I got a corner smoke shop and deli, and it's a family who are from Yemen, and just the greatest folks you ever want to meet. And they work every day. They'll switch out every year, right? So they'll work for a year, every day, Monday to Sunday, right? Same hours, and they save their money. They send a lot of their money back to Yemen. And then at the end of the year, once that year's up, they'll go back to Yemen, and then another family member will come over who's been at home in Yemen, and then they'll work. They'll do the same thing. And I've never heard them complain about anything as far as like, oh, I got to work this whole time. They know the deal, but they live right upstairs from where the store is. So that's like they're part of the neighborhood. And I've known these cats for years. And that's one of the reasons I love mom and pops like that, because you get to know these business owners like that. You go to a Starbucks, you get to know some of the people that work there, but you know, it's a corporate thing. And like you said, I mean, I'm glad there are people who are unionizing and trying to make things better at Starbucks. It's just, there is a lot of Starbucks, and there's a reason why there's a lot of Starbucks is because they're taking the place of those mom and pops. So, anyway, we could talk about the serious stuff all night, and I don't want to. I've robbed you of funsies. It's time for funsies. You ready? Okay. Yeah, you're like, oh no.
Sure.
I don't know if
I'm just like, what's gonna happen?
Me too. Got no clue.
No hands on the steering wheel.
10 and 2. Although in my case, it's just knuckles, and then that's pretty much it right there. So
existential crisis.
I don't drive anymore because there's so many crazies out there. So let's talk about Texas. So you grew up, like you said, you've lived on the Gulf Coast of Texas, around that area,
yes.
Right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Have you been through a lot of hurricanes down there? Have you been through there? Have you?
So, I'm really lucky because when I was younger and I was growing up, Port Isabel and South Padre Island, they had already started initiatives to preserve the island as much as possible. And they built, like a sandbar, an artificial sandbar out in the coast to help slow down the wind when we got hurricanes. So we did have really strong storms, but I never had, and we had hurricanes come through, but we didn't suffer the level of destruction that other areas did because we had a really good conservation program down there.
Right on.
So and then it floods where I live now. Like I live in the hill country kind of, and now we're prone to flash floods and things like that. So it's like it's everywhere. Like kind of bad weather is our thing,
Right. Yeah, that growing up on the Gulf Coast there, that was always fun. A fun story. So back in '86, I believe, I was a junior in high school. So do the math. And then you'll know the age. That's a test for the kiddies in the chat. So 86, my dad says, screw this, we're not messing with this hurricane, because it looked like a bad one. It was Hurricane Elena, I think. So he says, screw it, we're getting in the car, we're going to Memphis. I'm taking your mom. Mom loved Elvis. He said, Ma, boy, we're going to Memphis. So we in the car, and then the air conditioner gave out halfway. It was like in May in Mississippi. That's when it starts getting hot. So we're like, we finally get to Memphis, and we get to see Graceland. We get to see the big plane across the street. Mom's all happy and everything. And so we're in the hotel, and we're watching, and look, and Elena's turning back. It's not going to hit the Gulf Coast, right? It's going east. We're like, all right, cool. All right, so we hop in the car. We get back down to the Gulf Coast. Soon as we get back to the Gulf Coast, Elena turns around again. It comes right for us, and we had to go to the courthouse. We were a very small town where we were at, right? So we had to go to the courthouse. It's the most sturdy building in the whole county. So there was a whole bunch of us in the courthouse, and then the eye of the storm comes right over our town and all that stuff. Fortunately, it wasn't a lot of crazy damage, but that's when I knew that hurricanes were sentient, that they had minds and they were vindictive, and that they didn't like my dad or my family. So if you're gonna have a fun hurricane story, that's the one to tell the kiddies around the campfire. So, but let's talk about food. We were talking about steak earlier. I said that Texas steak is good. What do you like to eat down there? What's your favorite?
I like a good strip steak. T-bones are obviously a choice. I don't know why, but they are. They just hold flavor really well. They're so good.
They're very meaty too.
And then obviously I eat a lot of bison. I love making bison burgers.
I've had beefalo. Right, where they somehow through some act of Satan mated a buffalo with a cow, and they gave birth to a beefalo, and I've had that. That was pretty good. And emu too. I've had emu too. You ever had emu?
I have not. I haven't had emu, so I don't know what that's like.
I'll tell
Yeah.
you.
So right, I have 3 kids, so I have to cook quite a bit. Me and my partner split that up, I think, pretty fairly. But yeah, he's the meat guy mostly. Like, I do, like, we eat a lot of vegetarian dishes too. My palate is like, I need to be like almost crying. I need the food to be that hot for me to enjoy it. So my kids are like, please don't. I can't handle that. So I gotta tone it down for them.
I'm right there with your kids. I mean, I like a nice spice. I think I can probably go I could go as hot as a jalapeno. That's about as hot as I go. Anything above that, then there better, not to be gross, but there better be a bathroom nearby. I'm just saying. I know me. And just to let Miguel in the chat know, you're correct. 1969. Oh yeah. So anyway, but a lot of fresh fruits and vegetables. You like that kind of stuff? Do you grow your own food?
We have grown our own food in the past. Couple of things, like obviously tomatoes do really well down here. We grow jalapenos, bell peppers, and things. We don't have a consistent garden because I have a lot of pets, and one of them's a pit bull, and she likes fresh veggies too. So we have to come up with a better way than planting them in the ground and covering them up.
Right.
She doesn't care. She'll just barrel right through whatever we put up. So we have to come up with another way to.
She's a pit bull, of course. Yeah. What are you gonna do? You can put a brick wall around the garden. That's the only thing you can do. Right? She'll just just crash through the brick wall like Kool-Aid.
Yep.
Did you know that was a thing? There's kids that the same kids who are eating Tide Pods. They're crashing through fences like Kool-Aid and saying, "Oh yeah," they're calling it the Kool-Aid challenge. Have you heard about that?
Wow. That's listen, I have a lot of faith in Gen Z and but sometimes those fads, when I was a kid, like, kids were smoking cigarettes. They were like, "Oh, I'm cool." And we're like, "Did you see the
rebels.
ad, like the cancer ad?"
Yeah, right.
They're like, no, I'm going to do this because it's cool, and full knowing that it was going to cause cancer, and like, you know what I'm saying? So I can't really. Hopefully they learn to stop trying to run through walls and eat detergent.
Yeah, I was about to say, growing up in a small town, there was not a lot of stuff to do, but I swear, whatever deity you may or may not worship, the last thing I would think of was sticking clothes soap in my mouth in any form for funsies.
Yeah.
Right?
Right. Like, that's like a punishment. Like, oh, we're going to wash your mouth out with soap. Like, my parents never said that. They cuss like sailors, but like other people's parents,
Your parents sound cool.
They're all right.
I learned a few choice words from my parents too. They didn't, my dad was a sailor. He was in the Navy, but he didn't curse like one. But every once in a while when he did, oh boy, when he cursed, you knew bad things were afoot at the Circle K. So, so you just kind of do the Peter Griffin 3 steps backwards and then run away, whenever dad dropping F-bombs. But you never smoked, right? You're not a smoker or anything. You never smoked. You're a healthcare worker, right? You wouldn't smoke, right?
I am a healthcare worker.
I've seen a lot of healthcare workers out in the back just, because it's cheaper than bail money. right? I guess.
Right, like you can't kill people.
It's like,
Some days it's hard. It's so, I mean, the pandemic, I thought I was already radicalized and on that path. And the pandemic just like switched something in my brain where I was like, fuck this. This is none of this works. Like, it was just crazy for people to be like, I la COVID's not real. And I was like, don't talk to me. Don't talk to me. Yeah, I think when I was younger, probably in high school, I might have tried smoking cigarettes a couple of times, like at parties, but I'm not. And I know a lot of people that never gave up the habit. They smoke to this day, but it wasn't ever something that I couldn't. I don't have, I guess, an addictive personality, so I don't really. It wasn't ever a problem for me. And I think back on that, like, why did I think that was a good idea ever? It's so gross. But I remember like drinking at friends' house and being like, yeah, I'll smoke a cigarette. And it's like, that is just disgusting. I've seen a lot of cancer cases and things like that. So it just kind of like solidifies that like, I don't really want to be in that position.
No, I hear you. I had an aunt, smoker to the end. I mean, literally on her deathbed. She said, look, I'm already dying. Just give me a cigarette. And they gave her a cigarette.
Oh, yeah.
And I was not a smoker. I smoked pot before I started smoking cigarettes. I think I started smoking cigarettes when I was in my 30s, and it was because I was the news producer at the time, and the herd would go outside to smoke, right? And that's where all the juicy gossip is. So I would go out with them, right? Kind of, hey, what's up? And it was just a gradual thing. It was every once in a while I was like, okay, let me just get a drag off your cigarette, because it was a very stressful job what I was doing. And
and we didn't care about germs as much back then, right?
Right, it was passing around. Well, people pass around bongs and joints. The cigarette's no big deal either. It's now it's like fist bumps. No handshakes. I'm a handshake guy, and that really when people now do the fist bumps, I'm like, that's just, I don't know. It's just, I understand it. And this was before the pandemic. This is before pandemic, so people were doing like the fist bump thing. It's like, okay, if that's the thing now, that's fine. But like I said, I'm old school. I like handshakes. Like to see how.
Oh yeah.
If you mean it, you get like a nice firm. I want you to break my hand. Oh yes, you really mean it. Okay, stop it. Jesus Christ. But yeah, I quit smoking last year.
Handshake's important. Like my dad taught me that. He's like, it's got to be good. If you don't have a good handshake, you will never be employable. And I was like, oh my God. I mean,
that's all bullshit now. But back then it wasn't. There was a time when that was actually true. I'm right there with him. Now it's like, now it's just an old schooler thing where it's just like, some people will still shake hands, but it's very rare now. A lot of times now, especially like if, I like being around younger people, like millennials and Gen Z. I think.
Oh, there you are.
Yeah, I know. I tend to disappear sometimes. Anyway, but I've held you long enough. As my psychiatrist says, our hour is up. So he's not really a psychiatrist. It's the guy down at the bodega that sells Lucy's. But he has really sage advice. Do they have a tip jar? They do have a tip jar.
Just a little extra in the tip jar.
I think the person might be dyslexic. It's because the jar says, please leave spit here. And I'm like, oh no, I'm not going to spit in the jar. I think you mean tips,
I hope
right?
Nobody ever.
No, I think he's the only one who's not in the know. God love him. He's, bless his heart. He's one of those guys. So nice guy though. So makes a great Philly cheesesteak. So, he wants me to spit in the jar. I spit in the jar for a Philly cheesesteak. It's fine. Anyway, so when is the election again? It's in November. What date do you know?
November 8th, 2022. It's coming up. It's coming up, people. You do not have to vote for those people who don't give a shit about you. So I probably, if people want to talk trash, I care too much. It's part of the problem, right? Why not head down this treacherous path of politics?
Well, I think it's very brave of you. I mean, not a lot of people are. They're saying, a lot of people are saying what's wrong and that there needs to be change, but not a lot of people are putting their money where their mouth is and actually running for office. I mean, to be honest with you, and this is not anything against you or anybody else. It's just I'm a little skeptical about electoral politics in principle nowadays, but I feel a little bit better when I get to talk to somebody like you who is pretty honest about what they want to do. And you're the first person running for office that's been on this show. So if you weren't going to lose before, you're definitely going to lose now. So congratulations. You could just kick your feet up. You don't have to work any harder than you have to. So there is the opposite of the bump on this show. It's more like the thumb pushing you down kind of thing. The dark cloud
Cool.
of the extra Bulla show. So
You're just the grumpy Care Bear. That's fine.
you kids stay out of my yard. I don't have a yard. I just have concrete slab with trash cans and large rats that would scare most cats. So be thankful you don't have those near you. So you have all kinds of other critters, I'm sure, down in Texas, but rats.
Oh my God. Coyotes, rattlesnakes, like owls, bats. It's nice. Yeah, I will say I've been the first politician on a couple of other people's shows, and I just think it's because, I'm worthy of that honor.
and you're modest. So anyway, no, it's great. I like to bring people on the show to because normally, like on a lot of other shows, you have to be serious. So you're talking about serious things, and that's all well and good. That's important to talk about the issues and stuff. And we talked about some serious stuff on here, but I like to show people other sides of folks who come on, because I think if you're this is kind of my credo. The more I know about you, the more sides of you that I see, chances are I'm probably going to trust you more. And especially if you're running for office, you're showing me more like sides of yourself than you normally would on any other show. That's great. Because the more we get to know you, the more we get to like you, and the more we get to trust you, and the more we'll not only want to vote for you. If I lived in Texas, I would vote for you. And I would tell others to vote for you. But since I don't live there, I can't vote for you. But I can say to others, please, if you're in Texas, vote for Delilah for Texas. And like I said, we put the link in the chat there, delilahfortexas.com. You can find her platform there, donation links, all that good stuff for her. And what you got going on what you got coming up? Are you going to be doing any kind of rallies or anything? What do you got going on?
Yeah, it's more or less like public engagements. We'll just like post up at a place and talk to people that come around and let them know what we're doing. We really want to go to Uvalde. My kids and I, especially, we want to go down there and see if we can do something nice for the kids down there and just show up and let them know that, we're still thinking about them and we still care. So we're trying to save up a little bit of money to do that. We've got a merch rollout, hopefully coming up soon. I tell you, it's been funny just trying to sell t-shirts down here. Because I'm a Green Party, because we don't take any corporate donations at all. We have to register every single dollar donation. And so the same goes for sales. And so I'm having to learn a lot on my own down here because I think we're just doing a completely different kind of election this time. You know what I'm saying? There's the whole political shtick where, you try to just get a really big crowd and say some performative stuff. And I just know that that's not going to cut it. So, yeah, we're going to try and do community engagement. I'm going to go down to the Valley this weekend. I got to go visit some family, and I'll probably drop off flyers here and there and, see who we can talk to. Try to keep it fun, Well,
I tell you, as long as you stay sincere and honest with people, I think you're going to go far. So there's too many people that are either in office or running for office that just give you the same old political spiel, and that's really worn thin. I think not just with the old people, the young folks too. The young folks ain't having that either. They want a breath of fresh air and someone who's plain spoken. And and someone like yourself, I think, you know, as long as you're fighting for them and, you know, you're speaking the language of the people and you don't sound like, you know, you're some sort of political hack just trying to, you know, fleece them for their vote and to get in office, I think you're going to go pretty far. So I really do. I got my fingers crossed for you. And I really wish you well with the election. So, and she is Delilah for Texas also on Twitter. You can find other contacts and stuff on your website too, right? DelilahForTexas.com. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, you know, we're on Instagram and Facebook as well. We have a TikTok page. I need help on TikTok, y'all. I don't know how to do I don't know how to do those videos. I'm desperately, I'm like, help. But we're on TikTok too, so we do what we can.
You should
thank you for having me.
You should no problem. You should talk to my buddy Jimmy Sunderland about TikTok. So Jimmy
just has all the skills. I was talking to Jimmy about graphics.
Yeah, she told me what she's doing for you too, and it's like, you know, she's really talented. We have stuff on our spring store, me and her. Most of the graphic stuff on there is what she created, and it's just fantastic. You know, so it's a little on the pricey side, and my audience is pretty cheap. So if they're anything like me, they're probably broke as a joke too. But you know. That's to say you can't go on there and look at the nice, you know, stuff on there and, you know, what she's doing for you as well too. But yeah, talk to her about TikTok. She's an up and comer on there. So me, if I get on TikTok, I might as well be on MySpace still. I don't think anybody would just see it. They would just like go, what is this old guy doing? I would just be rambling on about, you know, how the price of, you know, cheese is more than a nickel now or something like that. And back in my day, you know, we didn't have
Back in my day,
we didn't have Earth. We just floated around and we liked it fine. You know, we didn't need gravity, that kind of thing. Anyway, but thanks again for coming on. We appreciate you. I just want to shout out the chat here that showed up for you. Miss Jimmy is here. She says, check out Delilah's merch. She allowed me to do some of her art. Yes, indeed. Jara, it was here. Wesley, good to see you. Miguel and Brandy. Gamer for Life, good to see you, brother. Austin Jones. I know we had, let's see, Brandy was here. Les Bones, one of our producers. I know Indy Left was here too. He's our other producer. So one of they're both my INM brothers. We had some other folks here. I know Reef was here from Reefer After Dark, and John Kemper. Let's see. I think that might be everybody. Oh, Radical Leftist Agenda. Love you, Nikki. Ed Heller. Good to see you. Denver, that's all right. Denver on Rockfin. If I missed anybody, I apologize. I'm just going to say, I only have 4 eyes. I can't see. But thanks again. I know you're kind of under the gun tonight. You're on call, and I hope they don't call you in for obvious reasons. But if they do, be careful, and we appreciate what you do down in Texas, and good luck to you, okay?
Thank you so much. I hope you have a good night. Take care.
You too. And as I like to tell everybody, clean hygiene. Keep your ass clean, because you never know when you're going to go to the hospital, and you don't want to show up with dirty underwear, because judgment is everywhere.
And your belly button. I'm just going to add that. Take care of that too.
That's right. If people keep they keep money in their mattress. I keep mine in my belly button. Good night, everybody.
groovy.